This did not start when they assassinated Nasrallah or Haniyeh or Al-Aruri or Fuad Shukr, or you just can name a long list. They call them terrorists, we call them resistant people. Because the occupation, the illegal occupation of Palestine is the core of all of this.
This was my guest today, the sitting senator and former minister Sakher Dudin. Welcome back to SaltCube Analytics, where we challenge mainstream narratives and dive deep into global events. I'm Thomas Karat, your host, presenting weekly insights from recognized thought leaders like diplomats, academics, intelligence experts, and sometimes activists of some sort. So join us as we uncover the hidden stories beneath the headlines. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of your other preferred podcast platforms. In a world where diplomacy often means saying as little as possible, Senator Dudin has stood out as someone who has never been afraid to speak his mind. The senator is a man who has held some of the most sensitive roles in Jordan's government, including his tenure of Minister of State for Media Affairs, where the line between controlling a narrative and telling the truth can be razor thin. Senator Dudin's voice isn't one we hear much in the Western media, but his words resonate throughout the region, often with the force of a shockwave. Senator Dudin has spent his whole career navigating Jordan's delicate balance between regional powerhouses like Israel and the United States. As someone who has been deeply involved in the reform efforts within his own country, he has faced criticism from both sides of the geopolitical aisle. Why? Because he's dared to question Israel's ongoing military occupation of Palestinian territories. He's called out Israeli settlements for what they are: a violation of international law and a direct threat to the possibility of peace. His words have been strong enough to raise eyebrows in the corridors of power, both in Tel Aviv and in Washington. This is a man who believes that Jordan, though a stabilizing force in a volatile region, must not remain silent when it comes to the systematic violence against Palestinians. His arguments, while grounded in diplomacy, have led to fierce debates about the future of Jordan's relationship with Israel and the West. What makes Senator Dudin unique is not just his willingness to stand up to the most powerful nation on earth, the United States, but his courage to voice his frustration with a world order that, in his view, consistently undermines justice for the Palestinian people. Some have even accused him of pushing Jordan too far from its Western allies, but his response is clear. If defending the rights of millions of displaced and oppressed people makes Jordan less popular in the West, so be it. This interview gives us more than just a man on the podium. It gives us the man behind the public image. Over the next 90 minutes or so, you will hear Senator Dudin speak candidly about the moments in his career that have brought him the most praise and also the most criticism, often for the very same reasons. And as if all of this wasn't enough to keep you watching, stick around till after the conversation for something truly special. Senator Dudin has graciously invited us into his home, where we'll get a rare glimpse into his personal and professional life. If you're watching the video version of this interview, you will see images that tell the story of his journey, both as a public figure navigating the complex web of Middle Eastern politics and as a man committed to his family and heritage. For those looking to understand the deeper motivations behind one of Jordan's most compelling political figures, and for anyone curious about what it takes to speak truth to power in one of the world's most sensitive geopolitical environments, this interview is it. But first, an urgent message. Have you noticed how the voices speaking truth to power are getting harder to find? That's no accident. This channel is one of the few that dares to bring you unfiltered, hard-hitting political interviews, and because of this, we have been shadow banned. How do we know? Well, because of YouTube's own creator statistics and thanks to a growing number of viewer comments like these. But there is something you could do. Get involved with just 2 or 3 clicks. When you subscribe, like and hit the bell button, you're not just clicking some buttons. you're making a stand for free speech and independent thought. Your actions are crucial in helping us breaking through the barriers of the mighty YouTube algorithm and to reach more critical minds like yours. And if you haven't yet explored our previous interviews, you're missing out on some of the most revealing and insightful conversations available. Our archives include whistleblowers like John Kiriakou, who risk it all to expose systematic torture in CIA prison camps, diplomatic mavericks like the US ambassadors Charles Freeman and Jack Matlock, or the Dutch ambassador Nicolaus van Dam, and activists like the so-called Hamas lawyer Stanley Cohen or Ken O'Keefe, the former US Marine who, with his bare hands, disarmed 2 Israeli commandos whilst they shot and killed 10 people on the Gaza Freedom Flotilla in 2010. But now enough of this, let's sit back and enjoy another powerful interview that challenges the status quo. Your Excellency, Sakher Dudin, I'm honored that you have me in your house, in your private atmosphere. It's a beautiful house. You just told me you designed the house, you created the house. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for receiving me for this interview. And it's an honor for us to have our guests always in our house. And I hope that you had a good time in Jordan so far.
So far, excellent. And I would like to point out that your friend, Senator Daboudier, connected us, and I think it was only 2 days ago, and you said today we can have the interview, so it was very short notice. It's really appreciated.
Appreciate your time and coming all the way from Austria to here.
The Netherlands.
From the Netherlands to here, and of course we'll give you all the time that you need, especially that we know that you're going to at least shed light on our perspective of the conflict that's going on for decades now.
Unfortunately, I think you're right. This will be a prolonged conflict. Yeah. Now, to give a little bit of a context, the most recent, can we call it provocation, because it's a string of provocations, was the killing of Nasrallah in Lebanon, in Beirut. Yeah, that was about 2 days ago, and yesterday was confirmed, right? But we can go a step back and we see, for example, we don't have to go that far back. Yeah. So we can go back to the attack, the Israeli attack of the Iranian embassy in Syria. Then, of course, Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated. Yeah. He was the political leader of the Fatah. And
of Hamas.
Sorry, Hamas, yes. Yeah. And now, of course, with Nasrallah, the whole region holds its breath. So, in a nutshell, we will dive into this a bit more in the interview. Yeah? But in a nutshell, what do you think are the immediate consequences, if any, of the killing of Nasrallah?
Well, we've been holding our breaths for the last 80 years. It's not this did not start when they assassinated Nasrallah or Haniyeh or Al-Aruri or Fuad Shukr, or you just can name a long list. They call them terrorists, we call them resistant people. Because the occupation, the illegal occupation of Palestine is the core of all of this. Why would people resist? Why do we have La Resistance in France? And why do we have a resistance anywhere in Vietnam or anywhere, or in Afghanistan for that sake? Once you have an occupation, you will have to resist. This is your right. This is your duty to resist. Therefore, if you end this illegal occupation, you wouldn't find any of these resistance. They wouldn't like to keep resisting and keep having arms and get themselves to be killed and assassinated. I think that people all over the world, they would like to live a good life. They would like to see their children. They would like to see their grandchildren. They would like to enjoy this life, because life is nice and good once you are living in a peaceful environment. But when you are bounded by an illegal occupation, by not only an illegal occupation, it is one of the most brutal occupations ever. They want to uproot people from their place. They want to kill everyone, to commit a complete genocide, and to get people to uproot them from their home cities, from their towns, from their past, from their heritage. and they want to take it all for themselves and to claim it for themselves because they say that God told them. I mean, this is unbelievable.
You said they want to have all of Gaza. Now, 6 days after October the 7th, there was a leaked document which was published on the Cradle, and I mentioned it also in the interview with the senator. I will put the link in the description, that outlined a complete plan already to get all the Palestinians out of Gaza. Yeah, it was with countries, with methods, with everything. Now I'm saying this because such a plan is not done on the fly. Yeah, this plan must have existed way before October the 7th, which is why I say October the 7th was a God-sent gift for Netanyahu for a variety of reasons. So when we come back to Nasrallah for a moment, as the last stepping stone into an, how did Netanyahu say it? Escalate to de-escalate. I mean, it's very difficult to these mind games, these semantics that he's using, trying to influence the population is just incredible. Yeah? But this last step on escalation to de-escalate, from your perspective, again, will there be any direct consequences short term?
I tell you what, Israel has been doing this for the last 75 years.
But he was
Yes.
not just some.
Now, what they have done in the last 10 months, they have fast forwarded all what they have been doing for the last 100 years or 75 years. They did it in 10 months in front of the eyes of all of the world. They committed genocide. They wanted to transfer all of the people of Gaza to Sinai. Haven't the Egyptians stood extremely firm about that, they would have just let all of them go to Sinai. They
Or to
started,
Jordan.
yeah. Now we will talk about Jordan once we come to the West Bank. But look at what they have done. The escalation for de-escalation, as Netanyahu says, they start the escalation. They start killing some people, then they start killing more people. Then they start to target hospitals. We thought at the beginning, when they targeted the Baptist hospital, that the whole world will stand up, and this was just the beginning. And after that, targeting hospitals became just very normal. So they are normalizing all of their brutality. They want a land without people, because they claimed at the beginning that they are a people without a land. They have to go to a land without a people. But Palestine has been all the time with a livelihood of people for thousands and thousands of years. And their people is, the Palestinians are some of the most clever people among this region. Now they have done this to Gaza. They have moved now to Lebanon. They will move afterwards to the West Bank. And they are saying it. They do not hide it. They say that they want to annex the whole West Bank. And they call it even Judea and Samaria. They don't call it the West Bank. They don't call them Palestinians. They call them residents. They call them residents. But if you look at any of the Israeli government cabinets, Smotrich, for instance, I mean, from his last name, it shows that he's an East European. He does not belong to this region. They don't want to call the Palestinians, even to give them the name of a Palestinian. They call them residents. This is unbelievable. It happens in front of the eyes of the whole world with this double standard. I mean, you look at what the Russians are doing to Ukraine, and of course the whole world is standing up. Okay, that's great, that's good that the world has this morality. What about our people here? Are we not humans here in this part of the world? Why do they keep dehumanizing people in this part of the world? And why is Israel always above the law? Israel, because of the impunity that it has received from the West, it became the rogue bad guy of the region. I mean, nobody is able to to come and say, hey, listen, you're doing something wrong. There is no accountability whatsoever. I believe that Israel, and especially Netanyahu, he fully believes that after 1967, they had all of historical Palestine under their rule. but they had at that time 2 to 3 million people in it. Now they became more than 5.5 to 6 million people. What are they going to do? They can kill, as you can see in Gaza, 40,000 people, 50,000 people, 100,000 people. They cannot kill, for God's sake, 5 or 6 million people unless they will throw a nuclear bomb, but they are living amongst them. They cannot throw a nuclear bomb on themselves. So they have to make everything, they have to make life so difficult for people. They have to make life so difficult for people in order to move, and in order, I mean, to say that this is part of the humanitarian move, that they want to be very humane by allowing them to go out to live a good life. So you create a problem, then you ask for a solution, and the solution is to kick all of these people out of Greater Palestine.
Or you make them leave.
Oh, you make them
said
leave.
it already, to make
Yeah.
what we're seeing today. And again, I'm coming back to an interview I had with the Professor Omar Bartov, and he said in this linear progression, first, and you mentioned it yourself, that the dehumanization which we're seeing in Gaza, right? Oh, sorry, from Israeli politician. Netanyahu spoke about Amalek killing women, kids, donkeys, dogs, whatever. Then you have ethnic cleansing, which we're seeing in Gaza, and if that's not work, you kill them. So that's the lean. I know it's very black and white. There are nuances to that. But the first two steps we see, and one could argue, and more people that I've interviewed argue that what is happening is actually a genocide. Last one being Professor Martin Shaw. He said, what counts is the intent. What is it you want to achieve? And what we're seeing under that definition in Gaza is genocide. Again, I have a whole string of academics who argue that way. Now, you talked already about, I have a couple of points here that I found most interesting, and I had to be self-censoring myself because there would have been a lot of things to discuss. So I picked the ones that I thought where you were courageous enough to speak out. And for a context, Jordan has a peace agreement with Israel, number one. Jordan is heavily supported by the US, number two. That means Jordan basically sits between a number of chairs, because you also have and I know from the senator, it's about 41% of the population of Jordan is Palestinian, right? So you have a number of conflicting interests, to express it mildly. So how does Jordan cope? How does the Jordan government, how does the king manage all those balls which are in the air at the same time?
See, Jordan is committed to peace. Jordan has struck a peace agreement with Israel. And by the way, peace treatments are not struck between friends, they're struck between enemies. So Israel is our enemy, and that's why we have struck a peace deal with them. They will continue to be our enemies unless they abide fully by the agreement that we have struck with them and by the treaty. They are not abiding by it at all. On the contrary, they are doing every possible thing, to violate that agreement and to violate every part and piece of it. Of course, the West is a good friend to Jordan. Jordan is trying to is more that has the tendency that is inclined more to the West rather than to the East. And many of our students, they go to Great Britain, they go to America, to Canada, and to parts of Europe to study. They come back from there. We very much value the Western democracy and the Western values. But nowadays we've seen that, I don't know whether we were right or wrong, because we're seeing double standards there. They're talking about human rights, and we see that all kind of violation happens to human rights in our region, especially from Israel, as you have just said, the genocide, the ethnic cleansing, and all of that. And we hardly see any of the governments there at least to stop sending weapons. We're not asking them to cease relations or anything, just to stop sending weapons. On the contrary, you see that the United States is giving them now, just a couple of days ago, $8 billion extra money with the bombs that they have killed with Hassan Nasrallah in Beirut a couple of days ago, because these this kind of weaponry is only owned by the United States, maybe, and Russia, I don't know, but you can't find it anywhere else. It is very difficult. I know that we face a very difficult situation. We know that we are dealing with the United States of America as almost the superpower of the world. We have always to deal with them. And we know that we have friends there. It's not a black and white thing, we have good friends there. Unfortunately, the Zionist lobby, the AIPAC, they're controlling everything. But we would like to talk to the AIPAC themselves and to say, listen, if you want real security for Israel, then you have to come there and to talk seriously with Israel, and to take away the impunity from Israel. Israel is like a child that is addicted to heroin. And you, instead of taking this heroin from him, you keep feeding him with more and more and more heroin. That's why look at the face of Israel now in front of the whole world. Israel is no longer the victim. Israel is no longer the nice Western David in this Middle East of terror. At the contrary, now they became Goliath. They're no longer the David. Now the Palestinians are the David, and they are the huge Goliath. They are the ones who bombard others. They are the ones who are killing. They are ones who dehumanize others. If I were a friend to Israel, I would very much not only recommend, but maybe put a lot of pressure to make Israel abide by going to reality and going to reason, and to sit down and to know that without solving the Palestinian issue, by giving the Palestinian their land, and by allowing them to have their own sovereign state on the rest of Palestine. Okay, they have taken a huge part of Palestine back in 1948, and the whole Arabs, even the Palestinians, they agreed, fine, if this is, but at least the rest of it, which is the West Bank and Gaza, and along the lines of the 1967, the 4th of June, at least they should have their own state, a sovereign state, to live peacefully side by Israel. Without doing this, they will never, ever have any peace.
I'm afraid neither Israel, nor America, nor the UK is inclined to such a proposal. The two-state solution, the two-state solution from the very beginning, Ben-Gurion wrote to his son that he accepts the partition, means the two-state solution, only as a means to an end, and the end of course being the greater Israel. Up until today, the soldiers today in Gaza and now in Lebanon and in the West Bank it's the greater Israel. So it's clear what Israel really wants. The question is, why is America and the UK, because they're kind of co-joint twins, why are they doing this? And I believe, and this, I'm coming to a question here, there is a geopolitical element that's very often, geopolitics is always under the surface, but it's hardly ever discussed. So there is a geostrategic interest of the US specifically to keep Israel where it is and to keep the situation as it is, because all hinges on, that's my view now, all hinges on the petrodollar. If the petrodollar dies, America dies. The petrodollar is the lifeblood of America. So, and Israel is the pit bull, is America's pit bull in the Middle East. They ensure that America has free access, almost free access, to these critical resources that are, unfortunately, I don't know, in the Middle East.
The whole creation of Israel, it goes back to 1897 when
exactly.
With Herzl and the Basel.
It's nothing to do with the Holocaust. People think Israel is because of the Holocaust.
That was way before the Holocaust.
Exactly.
And even in 1905, Campbell Bannerman, he was the Prime Minister of England. He had long talks for 2 years, from 1905 to 1907, with most of the European leaders, and with from people, from philosophers and all of that. They know that this part of the world was part of the Ottoman Empire, and they know that after the Ottoman Empire was conquered basically and failed to keep its territories, so they wanted to chip chop the region here, and each one will grab a piece of it. They did the Sykes-Picot Accord between France and between England, whereby Palestine, Jordan, and Iraq fell under the British mandate, they call it, and Syria, Lebanon, and part of northern Iraq fell under the French mandate. Since that time, back in 1917, the Balfour Declaration came. They wanted to create, they call it between parentheses, a homeland for the Jews, but actually it is like a platform for England and for the West in general to keep an eye and to keep a watch on this area and to keep the hegemony over this area, because they knew at that time that this area is extremely rich with oil, extremely rich with many other precious materials and what have you, and they know that they should keep all of the people here in a divide and rule manner. They have to divide to rule. So they created all of these countries: Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Palestine. I mean, this is all the Levant. It is all Bilad al-Sham in Arabic. We never called these lands these. I mean, my grandfather, not my great-father, my grandfather, his birth of certificate, he's a Syrian because he was under the Ottoman Empire. So because all of this region here, we were all Syrians. Then we became Jordanians and Lebanese and Syrians and Palestinians and what have you. So they created all of these states. And then they even try to subdivide these states. For instance, Kuwait was, Kuwait and the Gulf. I mean, the whole Gulf region was, they call it the Basra Gulf, because usually you call a Gulf by the name of the city at the end of it, like the Suez Gulf, like the Aqaba Gulf, like the Basra Gulf at that time. They created so many entities there, because they want to keep them in a divide and rule manner. And look at us now. We have 22 Arab states. They are almost all divided. And Israel is here in this region to make sure that this division continues. It makes sure. They have a unit, they call it the 8,200 unit, and I've talked about it before. That unit, I mean, the main reason for this unit to be there is to, first of all, to spy all over the people around it, then to spread lies and what have you, in order to make the brother kill his brother. For instance, they go to Iraq. They know that there are Sunnis and Shiites in Iraq, but they have been living there for hundreds of years and we have never heard about any problem. Most of my Iraqi friends, they have a Shiite mother and a Sunni father, and they don't even know about it. Like in Lebanon, you can have a Christian mother with a Sunni father and a Shiite grandson. I don't know. But anyways, they come to a Sunni name like Omar. It's a very prominent Sunni name. And they would create a fake account for him on Facebook or on Twitter, X now, or on what have you. And they keep him cursing all day long with the Shias. Then they have another Shia name with the name Ali or Hassan or Hussein. And then he will be cursing the others. When they see that this flow and traffic to this account becomes over 1 million, they leave it and then they come to Jordan. They thrive on the Jordanian-Palestinian issue. Then they go to Egypt. They thrive on the Muslim and Coptic issue. They go all over the place. This is what they do. They want the people of this region, to have a continuous fight between each other. That's why they need if Israel wasn't there, they would have needed something like Israel to be created.
Who said it? I think Biden said it.
Yes, of course, he said that if Israel wasn't there, we would have need to have Israel. Of course, they need an Israel in this in this region, whether the name was Israel or whatever. But they need a cancerous cell in this region to make sure that the whole body of this region is continuously being poisoned and being cancerous.
So two things, yeah, for the audience. Yeah, I think it's important. First of all, I should have said it at the very beginning. You were Minister of Information, so you know actually what you talk about if you talk about Unit 8200. But the viewers probably don't. Unit 8200 is a military unit with, I don't know, 100 or 200 people, we don't know, which have one game, also two strategic goals: the spying, but the creation of those massive bot farms that we know, which saturate the social media channels with Israeli propaganda.
They call it the Hasbara. Yeah. They call it Hasbara in Hebrew. Yeah. They call it Hasbara. Hasbara, I mean, they are the ones who create, you know, they create impressions in the mind of people, you know.
It's psyops.
Exactly.
Psyops.
Yeah. Exactly.
Psychological.
For instance, at the beginning of the 7th of October, you know, events,
babies.
Exactly. They said,
even Biden, the president of the United States,
they said that the babies were baked and head cutted, and then the rape of the women and what have you. And Biden had to say it the second day. Exactly. So it went viral all over the world. And then after 2 months, they said, well, I think, you know, they got a kind of a wrong information, and they didn't even apologize, but they just say that, you know, out of you know, integrity and being professional, maybe this is not very true, but so what? I mean, it did all of the harm that it did. Exactly. So they believe fully in this, that for instance, when they killed Shireen Abu Akleh, you know Shireen Abu Akleh, of course, the journalist, they killed Shireen Abu Akleh. First, once they targeted her and they killed her, they said, well, there are fires from both sides, we don't really know about it. It kept for 6 months. After that, they said that there is a lunatic in the Israeli army who did this, but he didn't do it on purpose. I don't know what, but that's it. I mean, they come up with all of these stories always, you know, in order for them to pave the way for whatever they want to do.
Yeah. But before we move away from the babies, just to give the viewer an impression of how these things of Unit 8200 sometimes go. When I heard the story about the babies, I immediately remembered, that's not a new thing. Where have we heard this before? In the Iraq War. We heard on CNN, yeah, from a young girl crying crocodile tears in front, I think, a UN committee, yeah, stating that the Iraqis went into the hospitals, took the babies out of the incubators and smashed them on the ground. Turns out, how convenient, that's the daughter of the
Kuwaiti ambassador.
And the whole story was stage managed by an American PR company. This was nothing spontaneous. We can't even blame the girl. She did probably what her father told her to do. I do not know.
You know, they are trying now to use the social media to do this, but fortunately, that the social media is not under their influence or control. Not all of it, at least. For instance, look at the TikTok. Okay, they have tried to.
This is why they want to.
Yeah, that's why they want to ban it. Yeah. You know, but for instance, the TikTok. Most of the people who knew about the reality of what's going on, they knew it from, for instance, TikTok. Okay, if you look at Instagram, or if you look at X, or you look at Facebook, I know that they are controlled by, but they cannot control millions and millions and millions of people. I mean, I would say they can control for instance, the magazines, they can control the TVs, they can control the media in Europe, the formal media, I would say, you know, yes, the formal media. But all of these new platforms that are coming, and all of these technology thing, you know, like the Twitter and what have you, they can control 50% of it. 40% of it. They cannot control all of it. You will always have leaks here and there, and you will always have people, normal people, like any people in the street, you know, they can just send to each other these things. So at least this social media thing, okay, they can control it, they can manipulate it, I would say, but they can manipulate it, but they cannot keep hiding the truth forever. I mean, you can lie to all people in the world for a very short of time, and you can lie to all of the people, to some people of the world for all of the times, but you cannot lie to all of the people in the world all of the time.
That goes back to Winston Churchill. Yes.
Exactly.
He said it a bit different.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I mean, Winston Churchill is kind of a saint in the West. He was a war criminal. He used poison gas, and it's history is sometimes weird. Coming back a little bit to my little gems that I have picked out of your career. The first one has to do with the Israeli settlements, and you already spoke about it. So they are, of course, and this is not just we saying it, they are a violation of international law. Knowing, of course, that today several countries, and most and foremost the US, is trying to undermine the UN, right? Making it weaker, making it obsolete. I mean, we know all what's the reason behind it. So they are, in fact, a blatant violation of international law. But then, of course, there is this is a controversial statement from you, and I would like you to tell me what's your point of view here. Because, of course, what we said already, Jordan has a peace treaty with Israel. So how do you view the settlements? Let's focus on the West Bank, because I don't know what we know that settlers already were in Gaza trying to establish settlements after October the 7th. Yeah? So, but let's focus on the West Bank.
You know, before the Oslo Agreement back in 1994, 93.
It's also, we have to keep in mind Oslo agreements. Yeah, let's not forget.
Yeah, before the Oslo Agreement, there were almost 85 to 100,000 settlers in the West Bank. Now, after the Oslo Agreement, we have 750,000 settlers, armed to the teeth, all of them, on lands that were confiscated illegally from Palestinians.
Again, under international law.
Under international law. Yeah. And we have so many UN resolutions coming from the United Nations saying that these are illegal settlements, saying that these are illegal and confiscated lands, saying that this is a flagrant and blatant violation of international law, saying all kind of good legal terms, you know, in a very nice legal manner. But nothing happens. I mean, nobody has the teeth to do anything. On the contrary, they are stripping all kind of teeth to the UN. And look at what happens to the UNRWA. I mean, the UNRWA was created back in 1948, especially for the case of the Palestinian refugees, in order at least to help them, you know, through education, through health, through social welfare, and all of that. Now Israel is trying to again to satanize the UNRWA, and you know, to make it look like a Satan, that the UNRWA is a terrorist organization. Imagine that a terrorist organization, and they are trying to do all kinds of things when it comes to settlers, for instance. Now the settlers in the West Bank, they move around the cities of the West Bank with their machine guns and under the protection of the Israeli army, and they go and they do whatever they want. They kill people. They are not accountable at all. I mean, they feel like gods there. You know, they run in the streets, they kill anyone. If you look at it, you would think that you are looking into a cartoon movie. It's not reality. And this is the, I would say, the highest term of apartheid. I mean, apartheid in South Africa, they weren't killing people actually. They tried to enslave them. Here, they do not only enslave them, they kill them. They kill them on daily basis. Even the terms that they use, mowing the grass. Mowing the grass, you know, killing a couple of thousands every year. You know, we will kill a couple of thousand people in Gaza every year. This is good, so we will keep the population under. I mean, this is insane. This is insane, you know. It's good that they are now killing. It's not good, but I mean, at least in front of the world, it's an eye opener to the world to see that when you have in 10 months more than 50,000 people who are dead, and over 100,000 people who are you know, not only injured, but some of them are amputated and what have you. I believe that Israel's goal is to not only to occupy, but to settleize all of the West Bank. They want to have settlements all over the West Bank. They don't want to have any Palestinian in the West Bank. They don't want to have them. They are looking forward maybe in their mind, especially Netanyahu, for the coming of Trump to the presidency of the United States of America, because as he gave them Jerusalem on a silver plate, and as he gave them the Golan Heights on a silver plate to tell them, okay, you take it, this is yours, as if he owns it, because he's a real estate man. So now he wants to give them the West Bank as well, because he said it. Israel looks so tiny on the map. I think that we should enlarge it a little bit, because it's so tiny, it doesn't look nice on the map. Maybe it should be a little, fat a little bit. Let's fatten it out. So this is incredible. Listening to world leaders to talk like this, and to just neglect the right of humans and of people, of authentic people who are living in this piece of land, the Palestinians, and not to see them as humans at all, and to deal with them as if they are human animals, like some of the Israeli cabinet members have described them. We in Jordan here, this is a complete violation of the peace agreement between us and them, because in the peace agreement they should not at all confiscate any land in the West Bank. Even the border line between us and the West Bank, that was been put in dotted lines, because that was postponed, so that we and the Palestinians will be negotiating it between the two entities after the Palestinians will have their own state, which was supposed to come 5 years after Oslo. Look at us now. We're more than 30 years away from Oslo, and what happens? We don't have a West Bank. You have a Bantu stance, just like in South Africa. Hebron is a complete isolated city from Bethlehem, is a complete isolated city from Jerusalem and Ramallah and Nablus. To go from Jerusalem to Hebron in the old days, it used to take less than half an hour, maybe even 20 minutes. Now it takes a whole day, because you have to go through loops and checkpoints and what have you. So they are making life extremely difficult, extremely unlivable to people there. So they would feel that they want to leave by themselves. They make it so difficult for anyone to live there. And unfortunately, as I said, they are giving weapon to these. They are weaponizing those settlers to the teeth in front of helpless people with nothing. And then once you have youngsters who would find a piece of arm, who would have bought it from the Israeli defense or from the Israeli army, by the way, they would bribe them sometimes and they will take it. They call these are terrorists. They have to resist their families. They have to resist themselves because of those settlers who move, in the land there with no accountability at all. It's very sad. It is very sad when you talk about it, and we know. But I tell you what Sharon did back in 2005 when he pulled out of Gaza, and he didn't pull out of Gaza because he likes to pull out of Gaza, because the Gazan people and the Palestinians there, they fought like hell. They gave thousands and thousands of martyrs in order for him to take that decision to say, listen, it is much better for me just to pull out. He had to destruct and to demolish a big part of the settlements that they were there. And I think that this is a precedent whereby if you continue to resist, then they will pull out, and then they will demolish their settlements. This is in the mind of the Palestinians now. They know if they continue to resist, okay, if they kill 10 Palestinian people and one of them is being killed, the Palestinians will win at the end of the day. Because the Palestinians, at the end of the day, this is their land. Whoever comes to Israel, he knows that this is not his land. He is coming there for two things: for security and for prosperity. You have no security when there is resistance. And where is prosperity now? Look at prosperity in Israel now. They don't have tourism at all. They don't have even the high-tech companies that used to have their incubators in the north of Palestine. No longer they have them now. They don't have even agriculture because they think that they are the best people in agriculture in the world. Where are they going to cultivate anything around Gaza when they have all of the resistance there, or around the northern part of Palestine, the very fertile Palestine? They cannot with Hezbollah there. What can they do? So I don't think that any Jew in the world now, I don't think that he would like to go to Israel now, because this is not why he would love to go to Israel. He would like to go there to have security and to have abundance, and to have, they like money anyways. So all of us like money, but I mean, they would like to have prosperity. They will never have it.
Before we move away from the West Bank, so there are images coming out of the West Bank already for quite a while that are really reminiscent on the pogroms that happened in Nazi Germany. You have gangs of mostly surprisingly young males. So I would say sometimes they're as young as 12, 14, 16. Heavily armed, as you said, protected by the army, plundering, burning, yeah, that's one element. Then, of course, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, the number that I have in my mind is you have about 150 settlements in the West Bank. 150.
Not now. That was before 1993.
And now?
Now you have the settlers. The settlers are over 700. Settlements, yes, 100,000.
Settlements.
Yes.
So
Yes.
a settlement is a mini town in
Yes.
in the West Bank. Yeah. Now I'm highlighting this. So I interviewed Dan Perry. You may not know him, but he was the former head of Associated Press here in the Middle East. And he told me, when he's a Israel supporter, but he told me something that surprised me a little bit. He said, and he virtually used this word. He said, the boneheads who try to put the settlers into the West Bank, they make a strategic mistake, because the more settlers you have in the West Bank, the less likely the two-state solution becomes. So he's a supporter of the two-state solution. But now his argument was, if that continues, then the world will force us to have a one-state solution. So I'm asking you, from the Jordanian perspective, one-state solution, two-state solution?
We know that Israel would never, ever go to the one-state solution, because the demography speaks about itself.
Israel would not.
I mean,
no longer be a Jewish.
exactly. It will not be a Jewish state. It will not, in a decade, it will not be there. And the two-state solution, they are doing everything in their possibility not to make any possible means to have a two-state solution, because by confiscating more and more lands, what they are doing, if you look at the West Bank, if it's like the palm of your hand, they are creating the settlements in this way, and I would say from the west to the east, they make them in a linear manner in order to segregate all parts of the West Bank, and they combine all of it by the River Jordan. So they have a huge settlements along River Jordan, and then they have all of these settlements coming from Palestine of the 1948, going all the way to River Jordan and cutting the West Bank into trenches. So that's why now you cannot go from Hebron to Bethlehem to Jerusalem to Ramallah and what have you. They are doing this systematically, and they are doing it in a way whereby they take the highest mountains in each region of the West Bank. They take the waterfall and the water springs. Wherever you have water springs, wherever you have waterfalls, wherever you have water cistern, water reservoirs, they take all of this. So now the amount of water that is being given to the Palestinians in the West Bank is less than 1/10 of the water that's being given to the settlers and to Israelis. I mean, we're talking about just very simple thing, which is water. I mean, for cleanliness, to drink, for cooking, for what have you. Something else. Anyone who has a piece of land that he is cultivating, who has olives, who has grapes, who has any kind of fruits, they will systematically try either to burn his crops,
You see the burning olive
You
trees.
you see the burning. They burn the crops, or they just confiscate it, and by the help of the army, they go there and they claim that this is their land, which is not, or they kill the people there. So they don't want even people to make, to make life of their land, which is, again, this is the most simple right for any human being. Israel cannot live as one state. They will not allow it.
So there's no one state. I get it.
So
There's no
no one
two-state.
state, and there is no two state.
Exactly. So
There is only the status quo, which is an apartheid state. An apartheid state, in order to continue to exist, they have to commit genocide and ethnic cleansing. They have to. I mean, what they are doing in their mind, this is right for them, because that's the only way they can survive, by ethnically cleansing others, and by making a genocide, or by transferring them. So they either transfer all of them outside historic Palestine, or they kill them and transfer the rest.
are you concerned that the transfer, especially the Palestinians from the West Bank into Jordan?
Of course we are very concerned. Of course we are very concerned. And we saw what happened in Gaza. We can see it coming. And we know that the Palestinians are, I mean, they will keep this time. It's not like 1948. It's not like 1967. Everyone knows that if he goes out of his hometown, or he will become a refugee. He will suffer for decades, because their grandparents and great grandparents, they suffered all of this. They will never repeat the same suffering. They will never allow it to happen. But at the end of the day, we will see huge sufferings for people who will be dying in their land, because they took that decision to die there and not to go out. But are we going to allow this? Is the world going to allow this? Just a mass murder and the genocide in front of our eyes, in front of the whole world? And what for? I mean, who are these people who are above humans and who are almost becoming gods, who can kill all of these people in this region? Why? I mean, even if the West wants the riches of this region, I am quite sure, and 100% sure, that the people of this region will be very helpful with the West to let them have the riches, and to make I mean, good, I would say, not only friendship but even partnership with them. I mean, at the end of the day, our oil, we're not going to drink it. We have to sell it, right? So it's only logical. If they are looking for oil, if they are looking for the seas, and for instance the Suez Canal and the Red Sea and the Bab el Mandeb, all of those naval, I would say, routes, the people of this region would be very happy to use all of these naval routes and to use their riches, because we will be rich at the end of the day. We will have money. We're not going to drink our seas, and we're not going to drink our oil.
Okay. You made some very valid points. We concluded our topic in regards to, also one of the topics that I'm having here in regards to the settlements in the West Bank. Yeah. Another item that you were quite outspoken, of course, is you were critical about Israel's actions in Gaza, right? And you call it even war crimes, collective punishment, and so on. Yeah. Again, something I should have said at the beginning. Yeah? Usually, politicians talk when they're no longer politicians, or diplomats talk when they're no longer diplomats. When they're former politicians or former diplomats, then they talk. But in your case, it's different. You were already quite outspoken during your tenure as both a senator and as a minister, which I find incredible in a country as Jordan. So you can see, even for me, I have a bias apparently in my subconscious. I did not believe that this kind of freedom was possible for a active member in the government. So again, you talked about war crimes, unchecked aggression, collective punishment. Usually, if a politician does that, UN General Secretary Guterres was almost lynched by the Israeli ambassador to the UN when Guterres said that October the 7th did not come out of a vacuum. So these statements that you made throughout your careers, they must have, provoked some reactions from Israel.
They did, and they did while I was a Minister of Information. At that time, there was no 7th of October or nothing. We had Corona, you remember, at that time, and because of the chain supply system, one of the ships got tricked in the Suez Canal, and the chain supply route was interrupted to come to Jordan. And I was on TV speaking about Corona and to put on masks and not to go out, and all of these Corona, I would say, narrative. They said that what will happen to us now if this continues, if this ship continues to be wrecked in the Suez Canal and we don't have a complete.
To be very specific, there was this huge container ship
Yes.
which was kind of blocking the whole Suez Canal. Yeah.
Exactly. So I said, well, I have all the confidence in our Egyptian brothers, and especially in the Egyptian army, who destroyed the Bar-Lev wall at the war in 1973 by the waters of the Suez Canal, by pumping the water of the Suez Canal. They destroyed at that time the Bar-Lev wall. So they definitely will be able to float that ship, and using the same method. I just said it like that. And by the way, it went viral in Egypt, and the Egyptians, they liked it a lot. And second day, it is true, the Egyptians, they floated that ship, and things went on very well. I had an interview with the CNN after maybe a month of that event, and there was Israel, as usual, they were attacking Gaza, and they were mowing the grass, as they used to say. And the Hamas, they called that operation the Sword of Jerusalem, because and many settlers tried to go into the Haram al-Sharif, into Al-Aqsa Mosque. And Jordan, of course, because the custodianship of Al-Haram al-Sharif is to His Majesty King Abdullah II and to the Hashemites. So we in Jordan stepped in fiercely in the United Nations. We said, listen, this is our custodianship. They cannot keep on doing this and that. And we did all what we can in a very political manner. So the CNN commentator was saying, what else can Jordan do? Why don't you go to further escalation rather than just doing all of this? So I said, listen, under the peace treaty that we have signed between us, we possibly cannot use our tanks and our airplanes and our army in doing this. We will be doing it through diplomacy. So at that time, Eddie Cohen, who's one of those 8,200 unit, he says, the Minister of Information, Jordan, he says that Jordan has no airplanes and no military and no this and that and no tanks to defend itself from Israel. I didn't say this at all. And this created a whole chaos here for me, because people, how dare you say this about the army? I didn't say it. But they do this for anyone who goes on them. They do it. But I tell you what, if you want to say, where do you get this courage from, or what? For myself, as a former minister and as a former senator, I look at my king. Look at his speech at the United Nations. It's the most courageous speech that you can ever hear. Look at our queen with her interviews. With her interviews, the most courageous woman you can find. Look at our foreign minister. Look at in Jordan, we don't have any problem in saying what we believe in, especially that this is our real conviction. It's not, we don't come up with it, for a reason or for, this is our real conviction. We believe in it. So if they want to keep playing their games, fine.
So again, you were quite outspoken in this regard, and I know that there were some consequences for you attached to that. Yeah? Now, one topic that I really would like to discuss with you is, and we mentioned it already, is of course the US but more specifically the Israeli influence on the US. I mean, we could go on that topic alone for hours, but we know that when AIPAC, the money that comes in, many organizations, worldwide. It's not only in the US. I did a clip on Adelson, Sheldon, and Miriam Adelson. I know you know them. They are billionaires in the US. Sheldon is dead, meanwhile. In the past, they have financially supported with hundreds of millions. They're Republicans. Miriam Sheldon has most recently given 100 million to Trump. What spiked my interest about the Adelsons is the fact that it was actually Sheldon Adelson who is responsible that Trump gave more or less Jerusalem to Israel. I didn't know that. So it's in American politics, apparently money can buy everything and anything. Now, if you say that the Jews are how shall I say this, infiltrating or manipulating, or controlling the world, you're immediately a conspiracy theorist, you're immediately anti-Semite. But if you look at the facts, and you don't need to put a label on, there is definitely an influence, a strong hold that Israel has over the US. Now, if you consider, and I think you commented, actually, that's why I have it on here. You comment on that. So instead of me talking, what's your vision on the Israeli influence on the US?
In order to control people in this world right now, you have to control two things: money and media. Once you control money, you control the destiny of people. And once you control media, you control their mind and their mindset. So once you control their destiny and their mindset, then you are in full control of others. And Israel, with the Jewish lobby in the world, they control both money and media. This is what they do. And they can create a special impression in the minds, whereby, I mean, they can make black look white, and vice versa, of course. I believe that if they would have had wise people up there at the higher echelon of the Jewish enterprise, or whatever they want to call it, I don't know what they definitely has a name for it, but maybe like the Rothschilds at the beginning and what have you. If they really want the goodwill of Israel, and if they want the good to Israel, they will have to make all possible issues and things to make sure that Israel is secure and live in peace with its neighbors. This will never ever happen without having a Palestinian state that lives side by side peacefully with Israel. This will never ever happen. They will never ever have that peace in their mind. I don't like to go back sometimes, maybe like the Israelis, they go to the Amalek and they go to this and that from the Bible or from the Torah. If I go to the Quran, it is said in the Quran, if you do good, God is speaking to the Israelites. If you do good to yourselves, then this is good for you and for others. If you don't, then the rage of God will come over you and you will be kicked out. This is normal. If we become friends as people, maybe this friendship will last. Maybe it goes down to our children as well. But if we have hatred between each other, automatically it transcends to our children without even us knowing it. What they are doing now, unfortunately, what Israel is doing now, and this should be the Jewish lobby in the world should take care of this. What they are doing now, they are igniting not only hatred, but the cause of revenge for every and each Arab and Muslim in the world. Revenge. We have a poet, a very well-known poet in the Arab world, Ahmad Shawqi. We call him the Prince of Poets. When the Italians, they captured Omar al-Mukhtar, who was the head of the resistance in Libya, not only they have hanged him, they threw him from a helicopter. So he wrote a poetry to commemorate that terrible event. In one of the terms he said in Arabic, I will translate it into English, but he said, ركزوا رفاتك في الرمال لواء يستنهض الوادي صباح مساء يا ويحهم نصبوا منارا من دم يوحي إلى جيل الغد البغضاء. It means they have set your corpse in the sand as a flag that calls upon people day and night. Shame on them. What they have done, this will create blood and more blood, not only for now, but for the future. This is what happened now. I mean, my children, they barely know about the Palestinian issue because nowadays, they are more fanatic about it. They believe that there should be no Israel at all. You know, I mean, my generation, we accepted the fact that there is Israel, but at least let's have Israel should reciprocate. And the Arabs back in 2002 in Beirut, in the Arab Summit, they said peace for land. We will give you peace, but at least give us back the land for the Palestinian people. They did not want any of this. They want the land, and they want to have peace, and they don't want to have the people of the land there. So they want all three of that. I don't know if they can do it. I know that we are now 400 million Arabs, and we are almost 2 billion Muslims in the world. Okay, we are in a very weak time of our history now, but this will not continue to go there forever. There are only 15 million people all around the world. They cannot, under any circumstances, even if they have all of the technology, even if they have all of the money, even if they have all of the Western support, they cannot continue with their occupation, their illegal occupation. They cannot continue with their genocide. They cannot continue with the war crimes. They cannot continue with the ethnic cleansing. They cannot continue by being a rogue state, a state that is above law. It is a pariah state. It is already a pariah state above the law, and with satanic ideas, I'm afraid.
Messianic ideas.
Messianic.
Yeah. And they align because there is, of course, fundamental Christianity in the US, Messianic Christianity or Messianic Zionism in the US. Noam Chomsky told me there are about 80 million who read, this is not one block, yeah, but about 80 million Americans are reading those books. And then you have, of course, the right-wing fundamentalists, but those messianic in Israel. And both have, interestingly, they have an intertwined interest. Noam Chomsky told me, and I had to sit back to think about this for a second. Yeah? Noam Chomsky told me the very existence of Israel is the epitome of anti-Semitism. I was thinking, huh? He said, of course, nobody else wanted them, so they put them as far away as they could. The Americans didn't want, I mean, we talk about the Russian immigrants, the Jewish Russian immigrants, yeah? The Americans didn't want them, yeah? Europe didn't want them, British, so they put them in Israel. So, and this anti-Semitism is real. It's not so that there is definitely anti-Semitism, very deep anti-Semitism. And what we're seeing today, of course, fosters this anti-Semitism. But I would like to ask you, what was the context in which you have made these statements in regards to the Israeli influence on US policy? Was there a particular context?
That doesn't need a context. I mean, we see it every day. I mean, if you look at, for instance, Blinken, for instance, when he first came to the region after the 7th of October events, the first thing that he has said, and I don't think that from a diplomatic point of view he should have said, he said, I'm not here as the foreign minister of the United States of America, I'm here as a Jewish. What? I mean, this is against all, not only diplomacy. I mean, if you are as a Jewish, if you here, then okay, then just, you don't have to pay allegiance to the United States of America. Just go and become an Israeli citizen. I mean, this is unreal. I mean, this influence that gets into the core of the American administration, I mean, I don't think that this is healthy at all. It is not healthy. we as a country, any other country, if you see that a big part of your administration becomes, I mean, that they pay allegiance to other country or to other entity, I mean, it does not work at all. Look at Turkey, for instance. They found that part of the upper echelon there, they have their allegiance for a certain group. They call it at that time the Gulen group or whatever. They just cracked down on them immediately, because you can't have two states in one state. But now in the United States of America, within the administration there, you find Israel there. Israel. You cannot do this. It's up to the Americans, of course. If they like it, fine. I have nothing to do with. I can't say anything about it if the Americans like it. But now, when we see the university students all over the United States going out in rage, they say, "What? You cannot have help to your state if there is a hurricane, for instance, unless you sign something saying that you are against anti-Semitism and that you will never ever be against Israel, and that you what the hell is this? This is unreal."
Many people don't realize this.
Yeah, but now they have started to realize all of this. Now they have started to realize all of this.
Yeah. So American policies go against Americans' interest in favor of Israel. If you really analyze this, it's hard to believe.
It is hard to believe.
And sometimes when you talk about this with people, they do not believe it.
Because it is unbelievable. That's why they do not believe it. I mean, if you just go to an American and say, "Come on, you're just mocking, you don't say the truth." But once he gets into this and he has to sign, then he knows that that's what it is.
Yeah. I have two more kind of topics, if with your kind permission.
Please.
Yeah? We talked about already about Jordan's custodianship in regards to the holy sites. Now, Jordan's role as a custodian of the Islamic holy sites in Jerusalem was granted to Jordan under the Israel-Jordan peace treaty. But now, de facto, it's Israel who is kind of managing access, is in full control.
Actually, the Hashemite custodianship started way before that. It started back in 1924, because after the fall of the Ottoman Empire, I mean, there a vacuum became, a legal vacuum becomes in Jerusalem. So the Jerusalemites at that time, they went to the Sharif of Mecca, who was the most prominent Arab figure at that time, Sharif Hussein of Mecca, and they told him that they need his custodianship for the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So what he did, he gave them at that time 50,000 shillings, they call it English shillings, or like British or like Ottoman golden pieces, to renovate and to sustain the place. And ever since, King Abdullah I, the grandfather of King Hussein, he becomes the custodian of the Al-Aqsa Mosque as well. King Hussein himself, he sold his personal house in London in order to gold plate the Dome of the Rock. It was done from his own money. It has nothing to do even with the government. He sold his own house, and it is written for everyone to know. And King Abdullah II, he rebuilt the Saladin Mimbar, which is the pulpit. He built it because it was burned in 1968 by Israel at that time. So he rebuilt the whole thing, and he sent it to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And by the way, Al-Aqsa Mosque and Al-Haram al-Sharif, it's not only the mosque, it's 144,000 square meters of land, and it is in one deed and in the name of His Majesty, the King of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. So it is under his real custodianship. It has nothing to do with the agreement with Israel. That is under the name of the King of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, whether he was King Abdullah I or King Talal or King Hussein or King Abdullah II or whoever will be coming afterwards. So it is within a deed. It is under the custodianship of the Hashemite king. So Jordan is trying its best, according to this peace agreement, to make sure that first of all they pay the money for all of the guards there, and for all of the clerics, and for the cleanliness and the maintenance and the electricity, what have you, of that place. And they want to make sure that all Muslims can go and can pray there. And there is a UN resolution saying and stating very clearly that this is an Islamic site. An Islamic site. Of course, anyone is welcome to come there as a visitor. I mean, many of our Christian brothers and sisters in Jerusalem, they like sometimes to go there. So it is, of course, if any Jew would like to go there as a visitor, he is most welcome. But this is not a place for worship for them at all. You know, that's the whole issue. Now, with Ben Gvir and Smotrich, they say no, that they want to destroy and to demolish the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and they want to build their, whatever they call it, the temple or whatever,
the third temple, so that their Messiah can return. Whilst we talk about the Al-Aqsa Mosque, I have those graphic images in my mind, and I'm thinking how long that is ago now. It might be a year or longer, where Israeli army, fully armed, went into the Al-Aqsa Mosque with tear gas. I mean, they just didn't shoot the people there, but they have beaten them up with the you know. Do you know what was the incident for that?
The incident at that time was,
I mean, in the mosque, yes. In the center, in the most holy.
The people, they made like a chain from themselves. They put their hands in each, they grabbed their hands, not to allow the settlers to come into Al-Aqsa Mosque. So they wanted to guard Al-Aqsa Mosque with their bare chests, all of them. So they stood together in order not to allow, because they don't have any weapons, they have nothing, they are, helpless people, but they stood there not to allow, or to allow those settlers to come in Al-Aqsa Mosque. And they're not coming as visitors, they're coming as aggressors with their shoes on. We don't go to a mosque with our shoe on. We always take our shoe out, and just to show respect. They're coming in with the army supporting them, and the army, in order to allow them to go in, they started to hit those young men, and some of them are even old, with the tear gases and what have you. So it is very unfortunate. I mean, things of that sort, such incidents and events. Do you think that any Arab or any Muslim in the world would like to see this? Wouldn't he feel very bitter? Wouldn't he feel the act to revenge and to come back on these people? It's very unfortunate, really, that they do not foresee the future, that they do not even look at one step ahead.
As custodian of the site, how did Jordan react?
As custodian of the site, of course, Jordan, they talked through political issues, because usually when it comes to this level, we have many things to do. First of all, we ask our ambassador to come back to Jordan immediately. We ask the Israeli ambassador to go to Israel. We don't want him anymore as a persona non grata. We will talk to the Israelis, even through the Americans and through the Europeans, and in a very political manner, basically. And Jordan, at the end of the day, is a sovereign state, and our king is very well known in the world. They know that when he comes out and he speaks, especially to the West, especially with his very good English, and with his very, I would say, he knows very well how most of Westerners think, and he can talk to them in their own language, in a very meaningful and in a very, I would say, إقناع in Arabic we say. He can just allow them to hear the truth, to tell them the real truth. That's why most of the times it de-escalates, things de-escalate, but we don't have actual force inside. it's a custodianship at the end of the day. It's not a protectorate, you know. This is a very big thing, and all of the Muslim world, they back Jordan in this, because in most of the summits that I at least have attended as a senator back in 1916, 17, 18, and so on, in 2018, I mean, when Trump said that he wants to move the embassy to Jerusalem, and he wants to give them all of Jerusalem and all of that. So the whole Arab world stood against, and the Muslim world stood against it, and they backed the Hashemite custodianship. They said that our custodian to that holy place is the King of Jordan.
The holy sites are intimately interwoven with my next topic, and I only bring it up because you already talked about it, because and it's very carefully crafted here, you hinted, yeah, that Jordan may need to reevaluate its peace treaty with Israel.
Yeah. Well, one thing about the custodianship that should be said, actually, maybe it is not, I mean, it's not a very big importance to the West, but it is very important to all Muslims in the world. His Majesty the King is the 43rd descendant, direct descendant of our Prophet. So he is the 43rd descendant of the Prophet. And this family, the Hashemite family, are what we call them Al al-Bayt. It means the people of the house of Muhammad, of Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, our Prophet. So he is not only considered as a political leader or as a military leader, he is being considered as a spiritual leader for Muslims as well, because he comes from that dynasty. And that's why the Jerusalemite went to his great grandfather at the beginning, the Sharif of Mecca, because he represents to them the dynasty of the Prophet. So this is very important, you know. So he has that soft power as well by being the custodian, being the descendant of the Prophet. Coming back to your question and hinting that we have to revisit it, it's not only me who's saying this. Look at our foreign minister. He says that, well, this peace treaty, I think it has been put in a very dark place with lots of dust on it. This says a lot. It says that, why do I need a peace treaty anyways, if I do not have my full custodianship over Jerusalem, the Muslim and Christian sites, by the way, and if I do not have a firm agreement with Israel that those settlements will be demolished or will be taken out, and not extra settlements will be there, if no more confiscation of land will happen, if this and that, why do I need this peace treatment then? Why? Because anyways, we're not getting anything out of this peace. We're not getting anything out of that peace treaty. On the contrary, since we got that peace treaty, only Israel is winning out of it, or is making benefit out of it. They're having 750 more settlers. They're confiscating much more land. They're making their grip over the West Bank even more and more strong. And they're controlling the water anyways of River Jordan, you know, by putting it in a cistern, which is called now the Tiberias Lake, and they take it all the way to the Negev desert for irrigation. What else? I mean, and sometimes they want us to use their ports as a way to go to Europe, for instance, through Haifa, you know, because they claim that it is cheaper than going through the Suez Canal, which is not at all.
The plan actually, I forgot. Yeah, the plan, a new canal as a concurrence of the Suez Canal, and where does this canal end up? Through Gaza.
Yeah. This is the canal, the Ben-Gurion Canal, they call it. They wanted to have it almost at the border with Egypt. This will be like an alternative route from Suez Canal. So in this way, this is a violation with their treaty with Egypt, number one. Number two, they will have to go through Gaza, not only because of the Suez Canal, but because of the very rich gas fields under the Sea of Gaza.
That's the second thing.
That's the second thing. So they want to have the gas, and they want to have that sea, and they want to make sure that Asian, the Asian part, the Arabs on Asia are completely separate from the Arabs in Africa, because the Suez Canal is bounded by Egypt from both sides. But now, if they have the Ben Gurion Canal, it is bounded by Egypt from one side and by Israel from the other side. So they will make sure that they are being put in the right place to divide the Arab world once and for all, forever.
Yeah, how serious? I mean, I read about this canal already, I think 1 or 2 years ago, yeah? But how serious is it? I mean, are they actually, I mean, because this has direct consequence, and I'm not finished with that topic yet, yeah? But this has direct consequence for everything that's going on right now. Because if there comes the canal through Gaza, then where do you put the Palestinians?
Not only that, you know, the Palestinians, Israel would like to cleanse the Palestinians rather than to transfer them. They think, because they can see it now, that they are getting away with cleansing all of these Palestinians. Nobody's talking to them. I mean, they're killing 50,000 people. They might be killing 100,000 people. And it sounds that nobody will be talking even to them to blame them. But if the Ben Gurion Canal, if it will happen, if this idea,
How serious is it?
will,
How serious is it?
I don't know how serious is it. I just read about it like
Okay,
you. I don't
okay,
have any real idea. But I would be wondering what Egypt would be doing, because this will kill the Suez Canal, and the Suez Canal is one of Egypt's strategic assets. I mean, without the Suez Canal, Egypt is not Egypt that we know. You know, Egypt now is the great Egypt we know because of the Suez Canal and because of the Nile, the Nile River. And now look, Israel is helping Ethiopia to build that dam in order to water starve Egypt in the future, and they want to have that Ben Gurion Canal. They will do all kinds of things to undermine all the states around them, whether they have a peace treaty with them, whether they don't have a peace treaty with them, whether they want to call them Iranian spies or what have you. They have all kind of different naming that they would keep throwing on their neighbors, because today you are my good neighbor if you abide by what I want. Otherwise, you will become a bad guy and I will be calling you names. That's what Israel is about.
The peace treaty, the re-evaluation of the peace treaty. Yeah, it's very tempting to think, okay, that's a thing between Jordan and Israel, but it's not, because the peace treaty, if there would be any changes, or even how shall I say this, a negation of the peace treaty, that would have international consequences. So what could this? Okay, how shall we play this best? What could those consequences be? Now, first of all, how large is a likelihood to revisit the peace treaty? I'm not even saying negate the peace treaty, but is this a serious thought within the
Yes, it is. It definitely is. To revisit the treaty is very valid. And I tell you what.
But you mean renegotiating, or you mean killing it?
No, renegotiating, I would say, because we still believe that this government in Israel now, the right-wing government with Netanyahu, they're not going to be there forever. I mean, Netanyahu at the end of the day is a human being like us.
It could get worse. It could get worse.
Yeah, but I mean, for him and for the others, how long are they going to live?
If Netanyahu is no longer there, that doesn't mean somebody better comes into place. Yeah, it could get worse.
That's why we have to revisit this peace treaty. And if we come to the point that it is in our interest just to negate the whole peace treaty, Jordan is a sovereign country. Jordan will definitely take the decision that will protect its interests and will protect its people. We just cannot succumb to whatever Israel wants. And we cannot just succumb to whatever even the United States wants, even though they are our greatest donors. But okay, if we have to say to our people, listen, do you want real sovereignty at the end of the day or not? I mean, okay, If each one of you have two cars, well, let's have one car for every four people at the end of the day. If I mean, we have to do whatever has to be done to protect our sovereignty and to protect our country and to protect our people. But we are not going to abide by whatever Israel or the United States wants. The United States of America has been a very good friend to Jordan for the last 30, 40 years. We had very difficult times with them sometimes, and we have very good times with them most of the times. Whenever there is an issue that has to do with Israel, this is the most difficult times. These are the most difficult times. But I assure you that we have very good friends in the United States who understand what's going on. And I think now is the time. Now is the time. Now they are more and more and more aware of what's going on. And they are more and more and more aware and ashamed, to be under the bribery, the direct bribery of the AIPAC and the other Jewish lobbyists. They know it because it has been now, it's flagrant. It's everybody knows it now. It was before under the table, all of these things. Nowadays, everything is wide in the open, and everybody in the world, I would say, not only in the United States, they know who is this guy working for and this senator who is paying for him, and you've seen it.
Who would be worse for the stability in the Middle East, if we can even call it that way, Trump or Harris, Kamala Harris?
To tell you the truth, the difference between both of them for us, Kamala Harris comes from the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, they have many Zionists. The Zionists, they want to protect Israel by putting Israel back again to being a sane country, not an insane country. But they want to protect it. Trump is neither a Democrat nor a Republican. Trump is a Trump. Trump is a real estate guy. He doesn't mind giving Israel one of his nice signatures. He has that big signature, take the West Bank, take River Jordan, take whatever you want, but go do it yourself. I'm not going to do anything for you, because he doesn't want to spend any penny, outside America. And Trump, if he comes, one of the first things that he would do, he would stop the war in Ukraine. And I don't think that the deep state in the United States of America would like to do this. They would like to drag Russia and China into a huge and long, long, long war, and to drag Europe as well with them.
That's a total different topic I would love to discuss. I'm fully with you. I do not understand. I do not understand how blind the European leaders are today, sleepwalking Europe into a hot war with Russia. It's just mind blowing. I mean, left and right. I don't know what it's worth. Sometimes I have to say I feel there's the bigger danger in this proxy war in Ukraine. Proxy war between the US and Russia. It's just mind blowing.
Look at how many German companies, for instance, who have went broken.
Of course, they bombed the Nord Stream pipelines. The Americans bombed the Nord Stream
we know
pipelines.
all of this. And now, after the Russian gas stopped, flowing to Europe, they are buying the American gas for 4 times more.
Yeah, and the dirty shale gas from.
So I mean, we can see it. So to say for the region, whoever comes here, it all depends on the region itself. It all depends on the region itself. I am a bit optimistic, a little bit optimistic, with the latest Saudi initiative. Of course, Jordan and all of the Arab and many of the Muslim countries and some of the European countries are all part of this initiative, who would say, listen, we're not going to negotiate to get a Palestinian state. We will have to recognize a Palestinian state now, all of us, the whole world, and to say that this is along the lines of the 1967 4th of June, and after that we negotiate how to do it. But we're not going to go for an endless negotiation without knowing the end game. Where are we going to end?
I think that those are very wise concluding words of our interview here. There's one last thing, yeah. So I do believe, and you're absolutely right, we cannot just put all the responsibility or the blame on, let's say, the West or America or Israel. Because there's one fact that I discovered very early on this journey, that the Arabs in general and the Palestinians in particular are split. They are split on many different levels and in many different fractions. Divide and rule, what we already discussed. So that's a strategy. Nevertheless, I think, and this is where we come again, David against Goliath. So Netanyahu, of course, in Netanyahu's point of view, it's the other way around. Yeah? The world today sees actually Israel as the Goliath and the Palestinians as the David, the small David. But Netanyahu turns it, of course, around and says, no, we have only one Israel. Israel is tiny and it's surrounded by hundreds of millions of hostile Arabs, right? So that's the picture he wants to convey. And I'm absolutely with you here. So if the Arabs would unite, so pan-Arabism, as Gaddafi promoted it, yeah?
Well, pan-Arabism is the first one who has promoted this was the Sharif of Mecca upon the fall of the Ottoman Empire. He was the first pan-Arabism. He said, listen, we people in this region, we come from the same race, we speak the same language, 99% of us, have the same religion, and we have the same history, and we definitely would have the same future. So let's put our hands in each other, Muslims, Christians, and Jews. All, if you have, because at the beginning we have Arab Jews. In Yemen we had Arab Jews. In Iraq we had Arab Jews. In Palestine we had Arab Jews. In Egypt we had Arab Jews. Even in Tunisia and Morocco, of course, we had many Moroccan Jews. We never ever said that they are not part of us. They wanted to exclude themselves from all of the rest of us. And now the people who are ruling, I wish that the people who are ruling Israel were the Moroccan Jews or were the Iraqi Jews. They are the East European Jews, all of them. Netanyahu and all of them, Smotrich and you name it. They come to this region because all of the Jews of this region were living in where they used to live. For instance, here in Jordan, if you come to Jordan, most of the people of Jordan were Christians anyways, because Christianity, in Palestine was the cradle of Christianity at the beginning, you remember. And of course, Jordan is the closest to Palestine, and most of the tribes in this region were Christians. My own tribe, Bani Qais, we were all Christians. Along the years, some of them they turned into Muslims, like our part of the tribe. But up till now, for instance, you go to the other part of the tribe who are Christians, and we are one family. Okay, he is a Christian, I'm a Muslim, fine, but we are brothers at the end of the day. We are cousins and so on. That's why this pan-Arabism, it should come back again in this region, not against anyone, but at least to steadfast with each other and to make sure to tell Israel. That's what all the foreign ministers told Netanyahu last night, or the Arab and Muslim foreign ministers. And I saw our foreign minister. He stepped in to the podium and said, listen, we as Arab and Muslim foreign ministers, we assure Israel of a complete security and peace, but you have to abide by having a Palestinian state side by side by you. Instead, what is he doing? Assassination here and there, killing people, throwing bombs, because it is personal for him. The time this war stops, Netanyahu will be in prison. He will be in prison, definitely. With all of his history, with everything else, he would be imprisoned and he will be out of power. So it is in his own interest to keep on moving from one war to the other.
Concluding remarks, yeah. So Netanyahu is embroiled in 3 different corruption charges. One of which is really, really interesting because it involves an Israeli super spy and Hollywood billionaire Aaron Milchan. Together with Milchan, Netanyahu seemingly, and this is according to FBI documents obtained through the Freedom of Information Act, Netanyahu and Milchan were both involved in nuclear smuggling, also espionage, and the smuggling of nuclear secrets and nuclear equipments from the US to Israel. And consecutive American governments knew about it and covered it up. This story is just mind-blowing. So, and Milchan has started to testify against Netanyahu, and he was asked, are you not afraid you end up like Robert Murdoch? And he says, no, because I have many more bullets in my chamber. So if Milchan starts to talk, Netanyahu, for this third corruption bribery charge for that, could actually really end up in jail, and not for a short time. Yeah. Your Excellency, you were very generous with your time. It was my absolute pleasure talking to you.
Pleasure is all mine.
Thank you
very much.
Yeah, thank you. Where shall we start? There is an image. You tell me.
This is King Abdullah II, His Majesty, and my late father, Marwan Dudin, who was a long-standing minister and senator in the times of King Hussein and of King Abdullah II. They're shaking hands there at the parliament, at one of the opening sessions that we have yearly in the parliament.
Then we go to this one.
And this is my late father with His Majesty late King Hussein at that time. When my father was a minister, he became Minister of Information when he was only 32 years old. Then he became a Minister of Agriculture for 4 years, and he became the Minister of the Occupied Territories. He was the last Minister of the Occupied Territories before the disengagement, the administrative disengagement with the West Bank. Then he became Minister of Labor, and after that he became a long-standing senator for more than 16 years. And he spent his last 4 years being a member of the Royal Supreme Court in Jordan.
So your family is really deeply rooted in Jordanian politics. You showed me a couple of other images?
Yeah. There's
I'm intruding with my camera into your home.
Please. This is my photo here with His Majesty.
It's you?
Yeah, that's me with His Majesty King Abdullah II. That's at the parliament as well when I was a senator, before I was sworn in as. And this is His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Al Hussein with his bride at that time, his wife now, Princess.
I'm mixing up now. So this with the bride?
Yes, with the bride at that time, Crown Prince Hussein with Rajul. And this is my father again here with King Abdullah II.
Okay. That's it?
Yeah. We have many photos inside if you would like to see, but
if you don't mind me walking in with the camera?
Yeah.
Maybe you warn. Beautiful home. There's a whole history. He explained it to me. Especially these kind of things come from his grandfathers, I believe, or even further back.
Please come on in.
I may come in?
Thomas? Now, these are photos of the family, of course.
Okay.
That's my father with late King Hussein, and that's my mother with King Abdullah II and Queen Rania. This is my father here, my late father, and my late uncle, who's the brother of my mother. He was the mayor of Amman, and he was the minister of tourism, and he was the head of the Aqaba international zone. Those are my daughters.
You told me you have 3 daughters?
Yes, 3 daughters.
And 1 son.
And 1 son. Those are the grandchildren, the grandsons of my father.
Yeah.
That's my son, Marwan. He is named after his grandfather. Kamal and Talal, the sons of my sister. Sijal is the son of he's my nephew, the son of Sahel, my brother. And Hamza and Shuja' are the sons of Mudar, my youngest brother. And of course, on the other side are the granddaughters.
You separate them.
Yeah, my mother does this because she's the one in control of this area.
The lady of the house.
The lady of the house.
Of course.
My daughter Aya, and my niece Jude, my sister Samar, and her daughter Yasmina, and her other daughter Hanin and Shams, and then Adiba and Hiba are Sahel's daughters. This is Sahel, my brother, who's the CEO of Ayla in Aqaba now. And this is Sahel, my brother, with my late father and his youngest daughter Adiba. And this is my daughter Aya and her husband now Rabi. They're married and they're living in Canada. And this is my grandson there,
Okay.
the guy up there,
Yeah.
Omar. His name.
Okay. Extensive family. Extensive family. Yeah. Good.
And those are our pictures. This is my picture there when I was still maybe at 4 years old. There.
Yes.
And this is with my mother here. My father and mother when they were.
Yeah. Who is this pretty lady here?
That's my mother.
Okay. Yeah, whom we have here?
That's my youngest brother, Mudar.
Yeah.
That's my mother and my late father.
Good. Thank you very much for letting me in here with the camera.
This is the family before passing away of my father. That's my mother, my two sisters, of course my late father, and we the three brothers. I'm the eldest here, and then Samar is my number 2, and then Sahel is number 3, and then Dad is number 4, and Mudar is number 5.
Yeah. And here's the courtyard, the famous
That's the courtyard there.
courtyard, which is famous in.
Yeah, I'd like to come.
I follow you.
Yes, please.
So again, His Excellency is of course an architect, and he built this. Wow. He built this house
That's my very first
with the
design.
courtyard, like it is custom in
This part of the world, in the Levant.
the Lebanon. Yeah. Yeah. This is a big house. Of course, you have to have a big house. You have a big family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the ground floor, my parents' house, and then on the first floor is my house, and on the second floor we're building something for my son, hopefully. He's 22 years old now, but he will definitely get married, so most probably will be living with us as well.
Okay. Good. So again, thank you very much for allowing me in here with the camera. Most appreciated. Okay. So done. Thank you again. I mean,
We have to drink something together now at least.
now I drink the coffee.
Okay. How do you like it? With sugar, without sugar?
So I drink it as it comes, black.
Black.
Black,
Okay.